All right. How is everyone doing? Welcome to another Free Real Estate Advice Friday. This is episode number 68, and this one really is going to be quick. I know I say that every week, but I'm actually already running late to be somewhere. It's been a bit of a crazy week this week, so I'm going to keep this pretty quick and basically just expand on a TikTok I just put out. And I'll talk about that in a second. But interest rates are down a little bit, just a little bit down, but we're expecting that to continue. So it's always kind of a validation when we see it kind of moving in the right direction, even though it's, little tiny bumps. Um, and yeah, my car died this week, so I had to deal with that all week. And we've been sharing a family car, which is kind of difficult with my wife and I both working, and it's just been a lot. I was also closing out a bunch of transactions, so it's been quite a crazy week. But anyway, we're here now, and just wanted to take about 5 minutes to talk about something really quick. As always, if you have any questions, please go ahead and post them in the comments. I'll try my best today to answer anything that comes in, but I really got to keep this brief. But please post them, and if I can't answer it right now, I'll either put it on TikTok or I'll answer it in a future week. As always, if you're a local small business, local real estate professional, past client, whatever, and you want to just be on the show, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to have people. The hardest part of it is just finding and scheduling people. So if you reach out, I can almost guarantee that you can come on here. Pretty good visibility while you're on here, and then even better visibility afterwards. So any small business, happy to have you. And let's get started. So I put out a TikTok today talking about when to choose a lender. It was based on a conversation I had with a old friend of mine, and a very common question. If she watches this, I don't want to put her on the spot. It's a very, very common conversation that we have. But she's ramping up to buy her first home, lifetime renter, which again, very common. I had another very, very close friend. I think it was last year. Everything's blurring together nowadays, but last year, had well actually about 2 years ago, had the initial conversation with this very close friend of mine and said the same thing. I'm a lifelong renter. I think I'm always going to be a renter. And I had a very deliberate conversation with them, and I said it does not have to be that way, and I want to kind of change your perspective on how you're looking at this situation, saying that you're going to be a lifelong renter, which, by the way, my friend that reached out today did not say that. She just said up until this point she's been a lifetime renter, which again, these people, all the people that I'm talking about are all the same age, myself and my two friends. I'm 43 years old. And this happened. This is very common, especially if you, in New Jersey, you're from the eastern part of New Jersey, because buying opportunities are kind of tough. In the eastern part of New Jersey, prices are up quite a bit, and it's very common that someone in their early to mid 40s has rented all their life, especially in that part of the state. So not surprising at all, and absolutely nothing to be judged or anything like that. It's actually extremely common. So first time home buyers come at all ages. We literally have people across every age group that are first time home buyers. So that is not uncommon. But the conversation that we had was, so getting back to my friend that I had this conversation with 2 years ago. He told me that he's going to be a lifelong renter, and that's fine. Some people do that. That's true. But if you can avoid it, definitely do it, because I mean, home ownership is, one of the easiest ways to build up a nest egg and have something that you're putting equity into, and building equity and having something that you can pass down to the next generation, or just set you up for your later years or whatever it may be. So it's, home ownership should definitely be like, goal number one. Now, listen, not everyone can do it. And usually it comes down to down payment. Um, and if you can't do it, you can't do it. That's totally fine. But if there's any, sliver of a chance that you can do it, then I can help you with that. And even determine, well, a lot of people come to me, including the person I was just talking about, and say, I can't do it. It's not possible. And come to find out, about 8 months later, they found their home, beautiful home. I've been there many times since. It's just a fantastic situation for them. They are in love with the home. And, not more than 8 months to a year prior to that, they had said they were going to rent for the rest of their lives. And that's just how it was going to be. So, it just goes to show you that is a very common conversation that we have. And it really, I would just, in this industry as professionals, we talk a lot within our industry about limiting beliefs. And, if you want to become a real estate investor, you may have something that's holding you back from, someone like me becoming a real estate investor, because I just think, oh, you know what, that's so much. And I don't think I have the funds, or, the time is not right, or, I need that money for something else, or whatever the case may be. And you just end up not doing it. But you really have to suss out everything, and not be limited by those beliefs that may be flawed in order to achieve your goal. So in terms of home ownership, it's really the same thing, that, there may be something that you're assuming that is not true, that is limiting you because you won't do it because of this belief, but that belief is flawed. So that's why you engage professionals to say, let's take a look at your entire situation and see if we can make it work for you. And very often the answer is yes. So first of all, the very first thing that I mentioned was another TikTok I released this week saying that, do I need 20% down for a down payment? And the reason I put this video out is because we get this question all the time. And I always tell people that the majority of my buyer clients are not putting 20% down. And it's the vast majority. I would venture to say anywhere from, 60 to 80% of home buyers are not putting down 20%. Now, in this market, you have to look at it relative to this market. In this market, the winning bids are very often putting down that much because they're the winning bid. But the total bids that we get, if we get 20 bids, it honestly could only be like 5, 10, 15% of them are putting down more than 10%. So that belief is a flawed one. It's an archaic point in terms of real estate. It's something that was true many years ago because essentially PMI insurance was so expensive that cost has come down quite a bit. So it's not as risky to buy a house without putting down 20%. And, you might want to just hold some of that money back so you can have some money to spend on the house when you buy it, and, get furniture or make improvements on the house or fixes, or just have, a fund that you can have access to. You definitely don't have to put down 20%. Does putting down 20% make your offer stronger? Sure. But, not everyone has that luxury. And I've been in plenty of situations over the last 3 years where we have 15 offers and not one of them has put down 20%, just because they can't afford it. And, we still have to choose the best offer, but it's not a guarantee that we're going to get an offer with 20% down. So in terms of the technical ability to purchase with less than 20% down, super easy. So in Hunterdon County, the easiest way to do that is a USDA loan. Almost all of Hunterdon County is eligible for USDA loans. They are specifically a 0% down loan, subsidized by the government. And not everyone is eligible for them, and not every property is eligible for them, but they are a very good program. We closed one last month that closed very smoothly. It was super easy, and people that had no money to put down on a home were able to get it done. So FHA loans, 3.5% down. There are conventional loans that are 5% down. There's all kinds of options. So it's just a matter of, number one is considering how competitive that bid's going to be if you're putting down less than 20%. And number two is, how else can you make your offer strong? So again, I talk all the time about making strategic offers on homes and getting offers accepted. It's not just about down payment. That's definitely one variable, but if you don't have that variable available to you, you have to put down 5 or 10% or less. We'll look at other ways to get your offer accepted. There are many different levers to pull in order to get an offer accepted. And that is why that offer process is both very strategic and has to be very deliberate, because you need someone that understands the entire picture and strategy of putting an offer in. If you're working with an agent that is less experienced, or just, for lack of a better way to say it, not very good, then these things could slip by and you won't have an opportunity. Whereas if you have someone who's extremely strategic and really is aggressive in getting your offer accepted, and I don't mean aggressive in a negative way, I just mean that they are hitting every possible window of opportunity in order to get an offer accepted. Down payment is just one variable, and honestly, it's not the biggest one by any means. Neither is price, by the way. So it's just something to continue to talk about. So based on that part is I wanted to talk about one question that came up today in the conversation with my other friend who reached out and said, that she's kind of gearing up to buy her first house, is that choosing a lender. When should you do this? So I've talked a lot in the past, especially on my TikTok channel, about when do you select a realtor? And in this market, that's probably going to be a long-term relationship. And if, in my opinion, you're doing it correctly, you should establish that relationship early. I have clients right now in my database that are not planning to buy for 1 to 2 years out. I've closed homes recently where that person started working with me 2 years ago. So it's never too early to reach out to a realtor because you just have this constant resource. Even if you're not looking that seriously, but you're starting to look at the market and you see houses that are intriguing. You're not going to buy them right now, but you just say, this could work. Let me just throw this at Craig and see if he can just offer me some insight. And I'm either going to say something like, oh, you know what? This is an as-is sale, and these as-is sales are difficult because of this, and that's why it's priced like this. Or I could say, yes, that would be a great option for you whenever you're ready. Just questions about the process. Especially if you're first-time buyers, it's just an education process. I'm happy to maintain a relationship with you for 2 years leading up to you buying a house, because all of my client relationships are meant to be long-term relationships. Even when I close with a client and we've already purchased the house, I still maintain the relationship afterwards. So it's never too early to engage a realtor. But to that point, it's also never too early to engage with a lender, because it's the same exact thing. And again, especially in this market. So what that lender can do for you right off the bat is they can say, I know you're not buying right now, but let's go ahead and pre-qualify you right now anyway. And let's just see what you would be eligible for today, just so you know. And let's take a look at your credit. That's the big one, is we want to take a look at your credit and see if there's any issues there that we can help you with, since you're not going to be buying for 18 months to 2 years or 1 year or whatever it is. Let's take a look and see if there's anything that could improve your situation when it is time to buy. And those are very specific talking points. Now, a good lender, and I'm specifying here, a good lender is someone who is going to take a look at your entire financial picture, identify what areas could use some improvement, and will significantly impact your qualification down the road. And there's a big distinction here when I say good lender versus not so good lender. A lot of the big banks, they're going to give you very dated information that is not specific to you. They are going to look at certain things in your credit. They are going to give you very generalized information about it and give you big advice based on potentially archaic and not specific information. So for example, again, on my TikTok, I referenced the story pertaining to one of my clients. They were with a lender initially. The lender took a look at their situation and said, oh, you know what? This one account, that's the one you want to pay down. You pay down this one account, you'll be in a much better situation. So guess what happens? They take a big chunk of money that would have been going to their down payment. They pay off this one account. Credit gets rerun, no change. We take it to another lender, and that lender says, wait a minute, that was bad advice. That is not what you needed to pay off. You need to pay off these other things first. Way more important. Now my client's in a bad situation. They've already put out a chunk of money. They already had a limited amount of resources for down payment. And now they have to come up with more because they got some bad advice. Now they have to pay off different debt. So that's what they did. Once that happened, qualifications went up. We got them all set up. They closed on a USDA loan, 0% down, got themselves a home. Everything worked out. If it hadn't been for that second lender, that first loan never would have closed. In fact, that's kind of how it played out. And I don't want to get too much into specifics, but what ended up happening is that first loan died. However, since we had already engaged a second opinion on a better lender, we were in position, because we were already, engaged in the transaction, to make that quick switch, not hold up the transaction at all, and get them in their home. So that's the big thing with a good lender. Now, I'm on a limited schedule today, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of choosing the lender. But what I would say is, if you find yourself in this position, give me a call and I can tell you a little bit more about what makes a good lender and what things to potentially avoid. I definitely have some that I work with. I'm happy to recommend that. And I work with lenders that are looking to educate buyers, work with people long term. It comes with the territory. A good professional in this industry understands that this is not a turn and burn environment right now. So they are looking, if you can find a lender or an agent right now that is willing to work with you long term, slowly, deliberately, patiently, you've got yourself a good professional. Um, and listen, the only caveat I'm going to add to that is there's a lot of agents that are, for lack of a better term, floundering right now because the market is terrible. So would they be willing to work with you long term? Yes, because they're desperate for business. I think going back to my conversation about vetting realtors is that make sure that's not the only reason they're working with you is because they're desperate for clients. Make sure they're working with you not because they're desperate for clients, but because they understand it's going to be a long-term process. So in my case, I have 31 buyers going right now. They are all in different states. Some of them are, could be purchasing any day now. We're just looking for the right opportunity. And some of them have told me they're 2 years out and everything in between. 31 people. So I'm not desperate for clients. I'm just trying to kind of put you in that queue. I have systems in place that let me know when things are going to get more urgent for you. Plus, I'm going to keep in touch with you during that time and just check in, see if you have any questions. And for you, you have a resource that you can always reach out to. Your lender should be the exact same situation, both lender and realtor. You should be engaged with long term, even if you're 1 or 2 years out. It's very, very important. It's arguably, I think on the realtor side, it's about education. It's about finding opportunities. It's about me being out there constantly showing houses and seeing new listings and thinking, oh, you know who this would be good for? And then giving you a call potentially, or just sending it to you and saying, hey, I know you're not buying yet, but this is something that I thought would be on target for you. And then you tell me, am I on target? Am I understanding your wants correctly? Would this be something that all goes to me being able to find you stuff in the future? With the lender, they can give you very specific advice. They can take a look at your current financial picture and say, hey, take a look at these couple things here. This is what at your current income level you would qualify for in the future. They can even talk to if you're expecting a pay raise or anything like that, what that would look like. And that's good because if you're just getting started, I mean, I know when I personally bought my own home, we had started looking like 2 years prior to that just to kind of learn the market. So if you're just kind of sitting back and learning the market, getting that information from the lender now can just make sure that you're not looking at things that you'll never be able to afford, or maybe you're underestimating what you'd be able to afford. So they can give you, monthly payment. They can give you all sorts of information, and that is very important. And it all goes to that education process. So very common thing that we get asked about, and I just wanted to speak to it here very briefly because I had to think of a subject that is brief since I have to go. But I hope that's helpful to someone. Please, by all means, no matter where you're located, please reach out, and I'll be happy to recommend a lender to you. There's a couple companies, and there's very specific reasons that I recommend certain lenders. One of the biggest reasons is the ability to get a pre-underwritten pre-approval. Again, if you have a lot of time before you're buying, that's something that is available to you because you have time. The mistake that most people do is they wait too long. They find the house first and then they try to get the pre-approval, and it's too late. We don't have time, especially in this market. So if you have all this runway before you're actually going to purchase, get with that lender, get the financial advice, get the credit advice, get the pre-underwritten pre-approval, which is basically like a fully guaranteed pre-approval, the best pre-approval in the industry that you can get. That is not available with all lenders, very small percentage. My lender that I work with primarily definitely offers that, and it is a big thing. And do you think it's going to help your offer get accepted if you have a fully guaranteed pre-approval versus someone who got one online in 5 minutes? Because that is definitely a thing. You can go on certain websites right now and get a pre-approval in 5 minutes. That pre-approval is worthless essentially because professionals like myself know that website very well. And when we see that pre-approval come in on an offer, that's the immediate red flag. And we're just going to tell our sellers that how those pre-approvals come to be. So you don't want to be that person that made that offer. And again, to the point earlier about choosing realtors and lenders, did that lender if you even talk to anyone, because again, you can get that pre-approval on the internet. But if anyone called you, did they mention to you that that's a weak pre-approval? Did that get through your realtor? Because that realtor included that pre-approval in your offer. And if they never said, whoa, 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 this is not a great pre-approval, this is going to hurt our offer, it got all the way to the listing agent. The listing agent looked at it with their sellers, and the listing agent caught it and said, hey, these are bad pre-approvals. We probably can't take this offer. Those are the things you want to avoid. So when people talk about how hard it is to get a house these days, you have to consider all these variables. It's going to be really hard if you're not working with the right professionals. It's going to be a little less hard if you have the right people and the right strategy. And listen, the market's still going to be, you're still going to be fighting against the market, but at least you have a chance, right? So, that's pretty much it. I'm going to keep it pretty simple today. 20 minutes. That's probably a speed record for me on this thing. But again, if you have any questions whatsoever, please post them to the comments. I will check them. Reach out to me any of the various ways. I did put up my link tree on this below, wherever you're watching this, YouTube or Facebook or wherever. My link tree has all the links that you could possibly need to get in touch with me. And, let's have some chats about real estate. All right. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you all have a great weekend. And I will see you all soon. Take care.